Welcome to the online training video series for the Missourians for Monarchs Milkweed Density Monitoring Protocol. This is the first video in the four-part training series. In this presentation, we will review 3 different procedures to monitor milkweed. In 2016, Missourians for Monarchs set a goal to increase pollinator habitat in Missouri by 385,000 acres by the year 2036. Each of these acres should contain at least 200 stems of milkweed. That is where volunteers come in. Volunteers are necessary to estimate the number of milkweed per acre to ensure quality habitat. The primary goal for this protocol is to determine the milkweed density at a given site. The second goal is to identify species richness of nectar-rich plants. Missourians for Monarchs relies on this information to determine whether the milkweed stem goal of 200 stems per acre is being achieved. Together, milkweed density and species richness of nectar-rich plants can provide greater insight regarding quality monarch and pollinator habitat. For timing, milkweed plants may not be above the ground at the beginning of the growing season. Therefore, density measurements should be conducted between mid-June through the end of October. Depending on the size of your site, you will use one of these 3 sampling methods. The size of your site will be listed on the site information sheet. If you can easily count all the milkweed at your site, use the Method A data entry to record the actual number of stems and the area and size of your site. For sites too large to easily count all milkweed stems, but smaller than 5 acres, you will select at least 15 randomly spaced locations, delineate a 1 meter by 1 meter sampling plot, and count the milkweed stems in each sampling plot. Step 1. Randomly choose at least 15 sampling plots per acre. A fun way to randomly select the sampling plots is to toss a hula hoop throughout the site, and wherever it lands, that is the location for your sampling plot. For an even greater level of randomization, determine the direction to toss the hula hoop by throwing a pencil or ruler, stick, etc. into the air and use the direction that the pencil is pointing to toss the hula hoop. Step 2. At the chosen sampling plot location, use a measuring device to measure a 1 meter by 1 meter sampling plot. Step 3. Count all the milkweed stems within the 1 meter by 1 meter sampling plot and record the information using the table under the Method B or C data entry. For sites 5 acres or larger, you will determine a path or transect to walk. Stop every 10 paces and delineate a 1 meter by 1 meter sampling plot and count the milkweed stems in each plot. Step 1. Start at the edge on any side of your site and randomly choose a direction that leads inward. Step 2. Mark the starting point with a landscape flag or other object of your choosing. Use a measuring device to measure out 200 meters and mark the endpoint with a landscape flag. If you cannot measure out 200 meters without crossing the boundary of your site, measure out 100 meters and mark the endpoint with a landscape flag. If you cannot measure out 100 meters without crossing the boundary of your site, simply walk in a straight line until you reach the boundary of your site and mark that location with a landscape flag. Step 3. Return to your starting point and begin walking a path to the end of your transect. While walking the transect, stop every 10 paces and use a measuring device to measure a 1 meter by 1 meter sampling plot. Use a consistent method for delineating each 1 meter by 1 meter sampling plot, i.e. the square is always directly to the right and in front of your right foot when you stop. Step 4. Count all the milkweed stems within the 1 meter by 1 meter sampling plot and record the information using the table under the Method B or C data entry. Step 5. Take 1 step forward, then begin counting your next 10 steps. Step 6. When you reach the end of your transect, randomly choose a new direction for your new transect. Repeat steps 2 to 5 for each defined transect. Do not worry if your transect crosses each other. Continue on your path as usual. A good way to randomly select a direction is by throwing a pencil or ruler or stick, etc. into the air and use the direction the pencil is pointing. Continue with this method and use additional data sheets if you have more than 100 sampling plots. A 200-meter transect will have approximately 30 sampling plots, and a 100-meter transect will have approximately 15 plots. You must take at least 15 sampling plots per acre to be statistically accurate, no matter the overall size of the site. If you have any questions or would like more information, please feel free to reach out. If you are a milkweed monitoring volunteer, please continue to the second video, Online Data Entry.